Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now we're taking a look at the ZX Spectrum port of Pac-Mania, which is a conversion of the arcade coin-op of the same name, which was brought out by Namco. The publisher of this particular port was Grand Slam, and this port came out in 1988. And it puts a bit of a twist on the familiar Pac-Man maze idea, in which you, as ever, trying to avoid giving yourself indigestion through having to eat every last dot on the map, while avoiding a certain set of spooky creatures that are hell-bent on making your life a misery. Well, I'll just let the visuals speak for themselves. So you can actually choose whether to start at round 1, 2 or 4. And presumably round 6 can only be selected, or if you actually get far enough. Welcome to Pac-Man's world. Let's have fun with Pac-Man. Let's go to Blocktown. So as you can see, rather than the traditional single screen top-down view of the maze, you got it in this sort of 3D isometric view. But that's not that. But the changes are not just cosmetic, because as you can see, Pac-Man can actually jump in this game. And on the 128K Spectrum, there's this funky tune playing in the background. And you also get power-ups in this game as well. Oh! Jumped over one ghost and went straight into another one. And first thing, the Pac-Man's got very nice animation on him. And the ghosts are quite well animated as well. I admit there's not a huge amount of animation to them, just the underside of their cloak-like demeanour. Controls are nice and responsive. Perhaps a little bit on the slow side. I mean, it's not absolutely crawling, but I wouldn't say it's particularly rapid either. I like the way the ghosts gradually form in when the eyes go back to their home after the ghost's been eaten. That's a nice touch. And as I said, you can actually get power-ups in this that give you certain capabilities. Round cleared, good job. Let's go to the next world. Let's go to Pac-Man's Park. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pac-Man Theatre. Well, I hope it's an appreciative audience, that's all I can say. And another thing that's a bit different in this, that bit to the left there where there were no dots, that's actually the equivalent of being able to in the traditional version of Pac-Man, go off one side of the screen and reappear on the other side. One thing I will say though, the playing area is a little bit on the small side, so it does cause a bit of a problem with knowing where the ghosts are when the amount of lateral view is somewhat restricted. Ooh, sweetie. But it tells you But one thing it does do is tell you what power-ups just appeared in that box below where it says fruit target. 7,000 points there. And they kept Pac-Man yellow, although when you got the different coloured background, it cause the inevitable slight colour clash, especially when you get Pac-Man to jump. And another thing is when he lands, because he bounces a little, it can be hard to actually grab the dots that he's close to when he lands. That is another little bit of a niggle, which I would have preferred if it wasn't the case. I mean, oh God, I knew I shouldn't have done that. But it's another fruit target. No, not going that way. The sound effects are quite nice. Music's pretty cool as well. No problem is if you can't remember where you've been on a map, it might be hard if you're getting close to eating all the pills on a map and trying to remember frantically where any that you might have left are. That can be a bit of a problem. That's one of the downsides of not having a traditional view of being able to see the whole map all at once, the way you can with traditional Pac-Man. See, because of this restricted view, Pac-Man a ghost could be just around one of these corners, and you would be hard pressed to avoid it in time. See, now I've got that problem where I can't remember where dots that I haven't eaten are. Ah, here they are. Ground cleared, good job. So you can see you get different colours, and the the mazes are different as well, which is another thing. The mazes aren't the same every single time the way I believe they are in the original Pac-Man. So as you can see, it's not painfully slow, but it is a little bit slower than I would. Ah, a power-up. Oh, this has sped Pac-Man up considerably. See, look how much faster he's going now. It's very noticeable when he's going from left to right or right to left. Although when that happens, the scrolling's a bit jerky. Ooh, coffee. I bet you never thought before seeing this game you'd be expecting Pac-Man to have a cup of coffee. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of colour clash. It's a bit noticeable against the green of this map maze. And as you can see, each time you reach another level, the ghosts stay in edible mode for a considerably shorter time, and you get they'll probably eventually reach a point where they'll be about a second or so tops, and that's if you're lucky. Sound effects do the job. I'm not sure about the sound it plays when the ghosts are vulnerable, but I'm not going to be too picky because even with the 128K spectrum, it does still have some limitations. Let's go to Sandbox Land. Beware of jumping ghosts. Now this is where even jumping over ghosts can be a bit of a challenge, because this is where you're going to start seeing ghosts actually jump. See, look, that ghost jumped when I did. See, So those ones you won't be able to jump over the way you can the other ghosts. Ah, good. Tell you what, Pac-Man's a great one to encourage children to eat their greens and their fruit. Well, Pac-Man's just eating bananas, so, and he eats other fruits like apples and strawberries and the like. So, okay. Oh, it's that power up that speeds Pac-Man up again. So generally, Pac-Mania on the Spectrum plays quite well, and except when he's got this speed up power, the scrolling's quite smooth. The only thing that slightly perturbs me about Pac-Mania, not just on this particular version, but in general, this is a game that came out in the latter half of the 1980s. Or at least on the home format. Oh god. Oh piss. And by that point, we'd pretty much progressed past pill popping yellow balls and mazes, and it probably wouldn't take all that long for someone to get bored of this. And as I said, having the view quite restricted by comparison to regular Pac-Man or even the arcade version, it can be a bit tricky to. Oh, more off just as I was about to eat him. It can be a bit tricky to plan your route the way you can on the single screen original Pac-Man. Oh no, that ghost followed me. So I'm going. Game over. See you. And of course, I've got to do this cyclic arcade style entry, even though I'm on a computer. I mean, I know it's accurate to the arcade, but come on, I'm on a computer with a keyboard. Why can't I just type it? I mean, I know that when game companies were doing coin-op conversions, they had to stay as faithful to the original as possible, which surely the rights holders could have made an allowance for that and not have, because it is a bit tedious having to key in your name that way. At least it's not slow, but that's not the point. So that's Pac-Mania for the ZX Spectrum. I'm not going to replay. I'm going to let it aside because this is a review and it's time to wind it up. So graphics, they serve the purpose and are about as good as they were going to get given the viewpoint and the Spectrum's attribute limitations. It's only really Pac-Man himself that retains his yellow colour. Everything else just stays monochrome, not counting the display on the right hand side of the screen there. You do get, as I said, you do get a little bit of attribute clash when Pac-Man goes past scenery, and even more so when he jumps, but it's not massively distracting, and it certainly doesn't overly adversely affect the enjoyment of the game. Sound, well, as I said, I'm not absolutely sold on the sound it makes when you've picked up a power pill. The music's nice though, and I don't mind the sound it makes when you actually eat a pill in general. Gameplay, well, it's Pac-Man, but in 3D isometric, sort of, well, some kind of pseudo 3D view anyway, and with power-ups and the ability to jump. I mean, yes, by adding those extra bits and the different viewpoints, it helps separate things a little. But as I said, the the um, the lack of lateral view is a bit of a problem when you're trying to plan. So because the display is taller than it is wide, it can be a bit hard to tell whether or not it's safe to go left or right in particular and not run straight into a ghost that's heading straight for you, especially later on when you start to get the ghosts that follow you or jump, meaning you can't jump over them. And also the fact that the general pace of the game is a little bit on the slow side. And when you pick up that G power pill that speeds Pac-Man up temporarily, the scrolling, which is normally quite smooth, is noticeably jerkier. But I think the biggest issue is whether or not there's enough variety to the game to keep you interested, particularly for a game from 1988. It was the best part of a decade earlier that Pac-Man first made his appearance, and obviously a lot had happened between Pac-Man's debut and Pac-Mania. The games were starting to get more sophisticated. Yes, it's got the extra bits like the jump and the power-ups, but there really isn't, and the different maps from one screen to the next and different styles, but it's still not a huge amount of variety for a game from 1988. It's not awful, far from it. It plays really well, and if you like Pac-Man, then the chances are you'd probably enjoy Pac-Mania. It's just that for a game from 1988, perhaps we expected a bit more in terms of variety and perhaps more in the way of extra power-ups. So I think I'm going to give Pac-Mania on the ZX Spectrum 7 out of 10. But it's really its longevity that is questionable. Otherwise, it would have scored higher. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Catch you on another video soon. Texie88 out.